Welcome back to Legal Verdict Daily. Today on Malicious Compliance, I got fired for following orders to the letter. Let us inspect the evidence. So here is how it all started. I used to work for a small company that manufactured slot machines for the gambling industry. Those machines were nicknamed one-armed bandits. Oh boy, this is a classic tale of workplace revenge with a well-earned side of comeuppance. The company was owned by two brothers. The first was the chief executive officer, a man with an emba who truly knew how to run a business. The second was a college dropout who drove a Ferrari and could sell sand to the Bedouins. Hold on a second. A college dropout with a Ferrari and the confidence of a pirate king. You already know where this story is going. The first year was good. I learned every technical thing I could about the products, including how to set up the payouts and how to troubleshoot the problems. There was no official service manual, just hand-drawn schematics and inter-office memos in a manila folder. Yeah, right. A pocket-sized notebook built out of nothing but hard work, and people are about to try and take it from him. I would add those notes to a bigger, hand-typed notebook at home, and it became my personal user and service manual. Are you actually kidding me right now? This man built his own reference library out of nothing but sweat and coffee stains. And the vultures are already circling. Then one day, the chief executive officer and his brother swapped duties. The emba-holding chief executive went back to the main office in Las Vegas to handle sales. And he left his brother in charge of all of us. Hold on a second. Hand the Ferrari guy the keys to the whole factory and take a long vacation. What could possibly go wrong? One of the first tasks the brother set me to was training a new hire, another former salesperson who was somewhat tech-savvy and a close friend of the brother. I walked him through assembly, testing, and servicing. I had him shadow me for a day, then observed him as he did my job for the rest of the week. That is rough. My heart goes out to this person because he does not know it yet, but he is literally training the man who will take his job. The following Monday, the brother sent me along with a shipment to supervise installation, promising overtime pay plus per diem for the entire trip. Classic, a shipment, a bonus trip, and a friend already sitting in your chair. What could possibly go wrong? Once I arrived on site, the only work was to plug each unit in and run 100 coins through each one to certify their operation. No problem, done in a day. Oh boy, 100 coins per machine and free buffets on the side, a vacation with a paycheck attached. There was a message waiting for me to call the main office. First thing in the morning, I made the call. And the chief executive's brother asked me where the manual was. I asked, "What manual?" Are you kidding me? What manual? He was never given a manual. He built his own from scratch with sweat and coffee stains. The brother went off cursing, demanding to know where the manual for the machines was. I told him all I had was my personal notebook. This was entirely true. I did not have my typed notes with me, only my handwritten ones. The notebook, the pocket-sized, dog-eared, coffee-stained masterpiece, yes, that exact one. He told me to ship it overnight because my new boss needed it. New boss, he had promoted the guy I trained, and only now saw fit to inform me. The audacity, promote the trainee behind his back and demand the victim's own manual to hand it over. Textbook betrayal. So here is where the malicious compliance kicks in. I told him, no problem. I overnight shipped my handwritten, dog-eared, pencil whipped, coffee-stained draft notebook, and it arrived the next day. Yeah, right? He shipped them the rough draft, the scribbled napkin version, and they treated it like the crown jewels. I had nothing to do the rest of the week but stand by at the customer's site, a well-known casino, to change light bulbs and clear coin jams. Hold on a second. The man who set up entire machines now changes light bulbs, while the new boss sits in his chair with a stolen notebook. On Friday, I went to the main office for my return ticket and my paycheck. The office manager informed me I would be staying another week. I cashed the check at the bank next door. That is rough. First they steal his notes, and now they stretch his trip another week without even asking. This man deserves a medal. So I stayed. I trained the locals on basic maintenance, enjoyed the free buffets, saw a couple of shows, and won some money at blackjack, in another casino of course. Classic. The slot machine expert wins his own money at blackjack in a rival casino. I love this man. At the end of the week, I went for my paycheck and plane ticket, only to be told again that I was staying another week. I said no way. She said yes way. Oh boy, yes way. That line stuck with him forever. I told her I had enough cash to buy my own ticket home, and I would do it whether or not I still had a job. She left and came back with the chief executive officer. Hold on a second, make him beg for his own freedom, then drag the big boss in to fix it. I explained the situation. The chief executive called his brother. There was some shouting, and he came back promising my job was as safe as anyone else's. My heart goes out to this person. We all know what as safe as anyone else's means in a company run by the Ferrari brother. The following Monday, I rolled into work. The new boss had turned my notebook into a plan to make every line worker a quality control specialist. What an absolute clown. One pocket notebook, and suddenly every factory worker is a quality engineer. But most of the line workers barely finished high school, and about a third had been replaced by people who could barely understand English. What had once passed for quality work became a broken parody of itself. Hold on, cut costs, hire untrained workers, blame the notebook, make it make sense. As I surveyed the damage, the brother arrived, took one look at me, and said, "You are fired." "Get out," I smiled, shrugged, and complied. Fired for doing exactly what he ordered. The Ferrari is crying tonight. Back home, I called a friend, got an interview with the main competitor, and they offered me a similar position at better pay. The type manual went with me. Kyo. The audacity of this person. You fire the man with the real manual, and the real manual walks into the competitor's front door. Before the legal breakdown, let us look at how the community reacted to this story. The top comment came from a user called User Marshmallow Man, and it is a masterpiece. The commenter quoted the original poster saying, "I said he would make a great salesperson, especially if he stayed out of rehab and did not violate any restraining orders." Then came the original poster's note, "True, I did not say he ever went to rehab, only that he would be okay without them." The commenter then declared, "This is pure evil, I am stealing it," and that one line tells you everything about how the whole community received this story. Yeah, right, I did not say anything negative. I only said he would be fine as long as he stays out of rehab and keeps his distance from restraining orders. Technically innocent, spiritually ruthless, and the comment is genius because it shows how the original poster weaponized plausible deniability. Every word he said to human resources was factually clean. He simply listed the conditions under which the brother would be a great employee. Hold on a second. The brother fired a loyal worker who did everything he was asked. And that worker answered with one quiet sentence that closed every door the brother tried to walk through. And that is the whole point of malicious compliance. When you cannot fight the boss directly, you stop carrying the weight of his mistakes. And sometimes you add a small, perfectly worded nudge to the universe. Now let us talk about what the law actually says about a situation like this. The original poster was an at-will employee, meaning in most states his employer could fire him at any time, for almost any reason, or for no reason at all. That is the harsh reality of at-will employment in the United States, unless there is a written contract or a union agreement. The employer does not need a good reason to let someone go. They only need to avoid firing for an illegal reason like race, religion, or retaliation for reporting a real violation. But there is a difference between a legal firing and a smart firing. The original poster was promised overtime pay plus per diem for the trip. And that promise matters under wage and hour law. That is rough. The brother could legally fire him just because he did not like his face. The law does not always protect the honest worker from the petty manager. If an employer promises compensation for a work trip, the employer generally has to honor it. Failing to pay promised wages can violate state wage laws and even federal labor standards. Are you kidding me? They dragged him along a second week and only handed him a plane ticket after he threatened to buy his own. That is hostage negotiation, not management. And there is the notebook. The original poster created it at home, on his own time, from his own knowledge and observations. An work product created within the scope of a job may belong to the employer, but a personal notebook compiled at home, with no official manual in existence, is much harder for a company to claim. So what could the original poster have done in court if he wanted to fight back? The most obvious claim would be unpaid wages and expenses, because the company promised overtime pay and per diem. Failing to pay those amounts on time could support a wage claim. State labor departments handle these cases quickly, often without a lawyer. There was also retaliation if he had been fired for complaining. That could cross into wrongful termination. But here the firing looked like a personality play, which is very hard to win in court. Oh boy, imagine the Ferrari brother explaining to the labor board why he fired the man who knew the machines better than the machines knew themselves. And there is the trade secrets angle. The company tried to claim control over the manual, but the real version stayed at home. That is rough. Sometimes the law cannot fix a petty injustice. The fired worker just has to walk away with his head held high. If a company believed an employee stole trade secrets, they would sue, but the shoe was on the other foot. The type master manual sat quietly at home, ready to walk into a competitor's office. Courts protect legitimate trade secrets, but they do not protect companies from their own managerial incompetence. The audacity, they bet the whole quality department on a coffee-stained draft notebook, and they lost the house. Never bet against the house, and this time the house was the worker who kept the master copy. So it is time for the final verdict. On this subreddit, the question is always, am I the a-hole? In this story, the answer is clear from every angle. The original poster followed every order to the letter. He trained his own replacement. shipped his personal notes. And when he was fired anyway, he smiled, shrugged, and carried his skills to the competitor. The revenge in the epilogue was the sweetest part. A year later, the brother toured the new employer's facility hoping for a job. When Human Resources asked for the original poster's opinion, he said the brother would make a great salesperson, especially if he stayed out of rehab and did not violate any restraining orders. He did not get hired. The original poster stayed another year, then left for even more money and better benefits. That is unbelievable. Are you serious right now? One sentence, 0 lies, and a whole career crushed with a smile. Malicious compliance at its absolute finest. And now, the moment you have all been waiting for, the final score for this story. On the a whole scale, the original poster earns a perfect 5 out of 5 from the community. And affirm not the a whole, the chief executive's brother earns a solid 5 out of 5 on the jerk scale, and a -5 from our panel. Thank you for watching this episode of Workplace Justice. Remember the moral of this story: follow the orders. Keep the master copy at home, and never bet against the house. And that brings us to the end of today's episode. If you enjoyed this tale of workplace revenge, please like, share, and subscribe to Legal Verdict Daily so you never miss another verdict. We will see you in the next episode.